Zimbabwe cash crisis worse.
Talking about Venezuela once again.
Systemic important banks. They removed the one factor called monetary awareness. Hey there, hope all is well. Back at you today with some more RT News updates. As you turn to today's title, we're going to be talking about the whole idea of draining the swamp and how that whole narrative of getting rid of corruption and crime in our governmental system, how, in my opinion, that is a complete fallacy, because there's no way of draining the swamp when the swamp is made up of our entire political system, monetary system, financial system, entertainment system, you name it. Every area of our entire world is made up of this illusion of choice and freedom, and in actuality, it's nothing of the sort. And so I have a couple articles I want to share with you just with the words drain the swamp in them. Didn't really get a chance to go through them, but just wanted to get to the visual aid, which I think is the most important part of this whole news update here, because it actually paints a very detailed picture as to how deep the swamp goes. And according to this visual aid here, as you're going to see, it's comprised of different layers, of which even if you got rid of one layer, you still got the one beneath it and the one beneath it. So it goes on and on and on. And in my opinion, there's no way of actually getting rid of the entire system, because it's the world we live in now in this day and age. So as always, if you're new to RTD, I want to encourage you to click that subscribe button as well as the notification tab to be informed of future live talks as well as news updates. And if you have not already, I want you to join me on Twitter as well. Follow me there so you can stay up to date on my most recent tweets that I send out throughout the day on monetary matters, as well as whatever comes across my news feed that I think is worth noting and worth you guys paying attention to. And so the very first article I want to share with you here, the title in of itself lets you know what's going on. It says, what the Ronny Jackson debacle reveals about Donald Trump and the swamp. And so I actually did not read it, but yet just came across the words swamp and thought I would share it with you. The next one here is new poll to GOP, either drain the swamp or you will sink in it. All these articles is leading up to the idea of me showing our visual aid with you. There's no such thing, in my opinion, of draining the swamp. The next one here, the one you saw already, says, I joined the Tea Party to drain the swamp. Trump isn't helping. So here's the actual visual aid that I wanted to share. So I came across this today just in my normal research. So when I saw this visual aid, I knew right away that I had to share it, just because it paints a great picture as to what the whole idea of the swamp means. Because if you're like me, you're curious as to what is a swamp? I mean, how does the swamp come about? There's so many different words and acronyms for this political structure slash this world we're living in, made up of corruption. And so you have the deep state, you have the swamp, you have the elite, you have the banking cartel, you have all these different names given to a group of people that desire to influence and to control the world at the stake of all other people. And so this visual aid, when I saw it, it let me know that there's more to this equation than what the mainstream media would ever tell us, because as you're going to see in a second, it's a part of the layer that makes up this whole idea of a swamp. So just start at the very bottom as to how deep this thing can go. So here we have what it says, overlords. It says the bloodline families. It says those who knew the ancient occult magic behind the matrix, referring to this entire system or this illusion in front of our eyes. Then it's comprised of various things such as religion. You have Luciferium, you have occults and magic and all that stuff like that. Then you have the people, you have aristocracies, you have royalty, all the monarchies that's up and running as of right now. We have the UK, we have other powers that be in the Spanish monarchy and so forth. So this one area here of royalty is comprised of hundreds of years of families that's been in control of everything, primarily just because they own a good chunk of the country in and of itself. Then you have the papacy here, the city of the Vatican, how they're deeply involved in all this. Then you have the banking families. Certain bloodline families have dominated global financial institutions, including the BIF, the Fed, the IMF, World Bank, and Wall Street. So that's the whole Rothschilds, that's the Rockefellers. And then the very next layer above that is the sinister designers and funders. It says those who design and fund the matrix. And so we have rogue elements of the CIA, the Mossad, we have black projects, and so forth. It says major funders. It says George Soros, the Rothschilds. We have Saudi Arabia crossed out. It says the Luciferian rituals, occult magical rituals, worshiping the dark side through rituals including child human sacrifice. Then we have secret societies in the shadows. We have the Bohemian Grove, the Knights Templar. We have Freemasons. We have the Opus Dei. We have P2, Skull and Bones, you name it. Unelected private policy trending setting groups. We have the Bilderberg Group, the Club of Rome, Council of Foreign Relations, you name it. And that's just a layer above that. Then you go to the operatives, those who manage the matrix. And so you have the rogue intel factions such as the CIA, FBI, DHS, the Mossad. We have false flags, front companies, foreign spy enforcer networks, we have handlers, we have money laundering, we have news narratives, we have big media, Disney, a lot of people don't realize that all the mainstream sources of information that comes to them and comes through them outside of the alternative media world is comprised of big media, which is owned by a very small few. And so we have big tech, we have big agro, we have big biotech, big pharma. It says a network of global corporate control. So we have all the big corporations that is the ones that are responsible for putting out these messages and putting out the narratives that we've come to believe as so-called truth. In actuality, it's all a narrative spun off by the tiers below them. So that's the third layer of this whole thing called the swamp. And then on the very surface is what you and I are interacting in right now as we speak. And it's the world we live in. It's everything we do as far as turning on our television, what we consume, where we go for our work and things of that nature, where we shop at, or the grocery stores, you name it. And so it says the matrix, the world we live in. And so just to go through a couple here, it's comprised of the entertainment. We have false flag terrorism. And so as you're aware, the mainstream media loves to make up the narrative of Al-Qaeda or ISIS or the Syrian regime or whatever it is they love to spin off. But these are all propaganda pieces is put together by the layers underneath it. So here we have the internet, just the whole media source that comes from www.com. Then we have sanctuary cities. We have the environment, the whole global warming, global cooling, global this, global that. Then we have GMO, all the modified foods and everything we eat. We have the healthcare industry, which is made up by the big pharmaceutical companies, which are designed to suppress us, to keep us sick, and to basically just kill us off one at a time. So we have vaccinations, the weaponization of viruses. Then we have brownstone sextorian, which it says is the use of blackmail, prostitution, you name it. Then we have the governmental system here where it says place personal in key government positions. So we have people that go into Washington, D.C. as so-called representatives of the people, but in actuality, they were placed there by big media, big tech, big pharma, and so forth. And so then at the very end of all this, we have our monetary system, which is what seems to keep all this held together right now, and it's comprised of debt in of itself, and that's the Federal Reserve. So it says neither the federal nor with the reserve. The Fed was set up in 1933 by the banking families that goes down at the very bottom of this to basically suppress and to privatize our money supply and basically indebt our government, and that's where we're at as of now. So this is just a visual aid I wanted to share with you guys. I thought it was very informative. I would love to hear your thoughts on this matter because this is the most detailed and precise visual aid that I've ever come across that does a great job of painting a picture as to the different layers of this swamp. And I would imagine that having seen this for yourself, that you can probably agree with me in saying that there's no way of draining the swamp, because at the very best case scenario, you'll be able to take care of maybe one layer, maybe two, but you're never going to get all four, because the very bottom layer of this is comprised of the families and the monarchy and the Catholic Church in of itself, and it goes a lot deeper than we will ever know, because there's no real way of weeding those people out and those families out, because they're so deeply embedded in everything we do. And so at the very greatest attempts, President Donald Trump might be able to expose a couple things on the top, maybe the second layer, but never that third or fourth, because if he gets that deep, I don't think he'll be around to tell that story much longer. But anyway, just want to share this visual aid with you guys, get your thoughts on it. Feel free to leave me a comment down below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, and more importantly, share this video so that more people can find out what this whole swamp thing is about, so they can see visually for themselves what it's made of and why it's important for them to take note of it. So other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. Look forward to bringing you more news and updates in the future. Thank you.
The next recession.
Recession will be.
Will be a recession.
We're going to hit a recession.
The date of the next recession.
A U.S.-only recession typically lasts 8 to 10 months, but a lot of things about this particular one have not been typical. So
a crash is coming. Now, whether it's 6 months from now, 12 months, 36 months, no one knows.
I go to bed every night, I dream of another recession. If you know what to do, if you have the right plan to set up, you can make a lot of money from this.